everyone. This is Tony Fazzino. I'm representing the Snowshoe Hare group today, also known as Lepus americanus. The other contributors were Brock Bond, Sarah Veit, Sierra Mosley, and Tanner Hale. All right, let's get started. So first we're going to start off by talking about the taxonomic history. So obviously this animal is in class Animalia, subclass Thuria, infraclass Euthuria, order Lagomorpha, which is the hares and rabbits, and family Leporidae, and genus Lepus. Scientific name is Lepus americanus, and as you can see over on the right-hand side, Rodentia and Lagomorpha share a common ancestor. The physical aspects of the snowshoe hare is the hare is typically anywhere from 3 to 3.5 pounds, 16 to just over 20 inches long, and the males are slightly smaller than the females. These hares have long, broad hind feet, which is how they get their name because their feet are basically like snowshoes. That's why they're named snowshoe hares. Their coloration is different in the summer and winter. So in the summer, they have a rusty grayish brown with a white underside, and in the winter, they have white fur and black ear tips, which kind of helps them camouflage into the white snow. Their lifespan is anywhere from 5 years in the wild, but they typically don't live that long because a lot of predators like to eat them. The geographic range of the snowshoe hare is typically the northern part of North America, so they're typically more in Canada and in Alaska, but they do venture just slightly below the border. They are found in mountainous tundras, rocky plateaus, and treeless coasts, and like I said earlier, these habitats are found in higher frequency in the northern areas, which is why they're kind of found more above the Canada-US border. And within those ranges, they're found oftentimes in open fields, swamps, riverside thickets, fence rows, cedar bogs, and coniferous lowlands. Feeding habits. So these snowshoe hares have a variable feeding habit throughout seasons. So in the spring and summertime, they feed mainly on grasses, forbs, and wild berries. And in the winter, they forage mainly on the buds from twigs, bark, and evergreen trees, and have even been found to cannibalize their siblings in the winter when times get tough. For digestion of these, they do take part in coprophagy, which is the reingestion of fecal matter, and this is done so to kind of absorb as much nutrients from what they have ingested the first time. And their digestion does occur in the hind gut, which allows them to extract all available nutrients. For reproduction, the males congregate around the females who are ready to mate, and the males also move around within their home ranges. They are polygynandrous, which means that they mate with multiple partners during the breeding season. And the females are also polygynandrous. Whenever the females are nearing birth, they are extremely aggressive towards the males, and they do move towards a birthing area that they've previously prepared prior to giving birth. They give birth to 4 litters per year, depending on the conditions and the resources, and their gestation period is anywhere from 36 to 40 days. During the breeding season, they can have litters that range anywhere from 2 to 4 young, and they can be larger in later seasons, and in the later part of the season, because they have more resources available to them. And the season is anywhere from mid-March to August. For reproduction, for the juveniles, they are precocial, fully furred, and they do move around. So the young do hide in separate locations, and then they only nurse anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes at a time, which is basically a way to prevent predation. They're weaned and independent at about 4 weeks, and they're reproductively mature at 1 year old. The parental investment is only 4 weeks, and they're only cared for by the mother. For behavior, these snowshoe hares are often solitary, but they do have very dense populations, and that often causes overlapping in home ranges. The home range tends to be anywhere from 7 to 17 acres, and their activity is most often during low light levels, so around dusk, dawn, and at night. This helps to kind of limit predation. And whenever they're not moving around, they're spending their time grooming and taking naps. And for movement, these snowshoe hares create what are called roads, and these are created by trampling down vegetation, and they, majority of the time, only travel along these roads. And you probably don't think this, but they actually do swim, and they swim across lakes and small rivers, but they also utilize this to avoid predators. Communication. Snowshoe hares have acute hearing, which is extremely beneficial to them because it helps them identify when predators are approaching. They're not very vocal, but they have been heard making loud squeaking noises when they're captured, and they may also hiss or snort in aggression. And between the hares, the most common communication is just thumping of the hind feet against the ground. All right, so now we're going to talk about the avoidance of predators, which is extremely important for the snowshoe hare because they're pretty much eaten by almost anything. So what they're going to do first whenever they're spotted by a predator is they're going to freeze. They're going to try and not make any movements, and this is just to try and prevent the predator from realizing what they're actually looking at and hoping that their camouflage is working. If the predator does end up realizing what they're looking at, the predator starts to kind of go after the hare. The hare will then go in and try and escape by kind of zigzagging, or they can even jump vertically to try and confuse the predator. The older hares typically end up escaping more often because they have more experience with it. And during these escapes, they can travel up to 27 miles per hour. And like I said earlier, the known predators are coyotes, wolves, lynx, red foxes, mink, and bobcats, and many other things, so pretty much anything. In the next slide, we're going to show you a video of a lynx going after a snowshoe hare. And so let's go ahead and watch that video. So as you can see from the very dramatic video that was previously viewed, the snowshoe hare was using many techniques to try and avoid the lynx capturing him. Unfortunately, he didn't make it this time, but that's kind of a representation of what happens in the wild. So whenever these snowshoe hares are trying to avoid predation, it's not oftentimes successful. But this kind of leads us into our next topic, which is the importance of a snowshoe hare. The importance of a snowshoe hare is pretty much that they're a food source. Many different predators eat them, especially the lynx, and even humans eat them. So they are a game species, and by them being a game species, they create revenue for different hunting industries, and as well as a food source for the humans. So here you can see a graph that's relating the snowshoe hare with the lynx. And as you can see here on the graph, the snowshoe hare, as their populations rise, so does the lynx population. So when the snowshoe hare population rises, the lynx has more food to eat and more resources available, which allows for better reproductive success. And so here you can see they correlate with each other very well. Conservation efforts. So the snowshoe hare is not of any concern whatsoever right now, but as climate begins to warm, it may push the snowshoe hares into a northern range. And by doing so, it may also affect predators by forcing them to move northward following their food. So their population is extremely stable, and the IUCN red list to the snowshoe hare is of least concern. Thank you everyone for listening today. I hope you all enjoyed it and learned a little bit about the snowshoe hare. Remember that there is a Canvas quiz, so don't forget to finish that up. Thank you.